Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. And it's good morning and it's good afternoon because I'm in New England and Steve is over on the other side of the ocean. This is Steve Diggle from the almighty Buzzcocks. Steve's been rocking for many, many years. Buzzcocks has a bunch of songs we all know. Steve has one of my favorite songs, which is Harmony in My Head, which is been a staple of mine forever. Steve, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah,
excellent.
I'm filled with Zoom.
I know, right? We had some little challenges, but we got it. We're doing good. Obviously, this year has been a year and a half now. Has been a challenge for music, and a lot of bads come from that. I think a lot of goods come from it too. I think as the human race, and we'll delve into that on a level of more of a songwriting for you type of thing. It changes. In the past couple of years, you've had a loss, but the band has had to move on. People aren't totally familiar. I don't know where you've been, but the singer Pete Shelley passed away, unfortunately, 2018, I believe, December. Right, and if you want to actually pick up from there, I mean, I don't want to. We have to relive everything for you. It's your friend.
That's the kind of thing, really. I mean, so Pete died, and then we had a gig at the Royal Albert Hall to do in London, and we ended up making that a tribute gig to him. Really, I mean, he was supposed to be playing, but obviously he died, and then kind of had to deal with that. And then we did this gig like a tribute gig, you know.
But what a beautiful tribute that would be, though. I mean, if you're going to really have a tribute of yourself, the Wembley gig, as an artist to do a tribute at Wembley, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a big gig to do. It was a good gig to do. But it was kind of weird going, where's the other guy? You know, the guy I've been with him for 40 odd years. Suddenly I'm doing a tribute to him. Very strange, but I'd had like I think a couple of months to deal with Pete dying as well. So you kind of go through that personally, you know. So by the time of the gig, it was more about just giving him a tribute, you know.
Was it a little bit different though? Because was it different? I'm sorry. Was it different though? Because and here's the thing: people don't realize it's like, oh, I lost my favorite artist or whatever it is. They don't know him, but you lost a best friend. So and you work with them. So I mean, it's just more than just like so. It overlaps into your thing. So it's got to be many touchstones back and forth to handle.
It was a massive thing, really, because I think at that point the band had been together, and the sort of, you know, I met him like kind of day one of the band, so it was like 43 years. But like you say, we did all the music together, but also we were friends as well, and spent a lot of time together, more than our wives, girlfriends, kids, or you know. Kind of.
Well, that's the thing. You lose your singer guitarist. You want to go, and then you'll see like, I'll go talk to my best friend about it. That was also one of your best friends. So.
Yeah, so it's a massive impact, you know. In those ways, it was. But then again, when I was 17, another best friend of mine died in a car crash. I was in the car crash as well. So I was 17 years old, and this car crashed, came flying off the road, and I was lucky to escape it. It came off the road and it went into a petrol station, a garage. When I opened my eyes, we demolished the petrol pump, gas pump. So I looked up and I got out of the car. I thought that could have gone up in flames, you know.
Oh my God, it sounds like a movie.
It was like a movie. And my mate was lying down on the floor, and the driver came over. I was tapping this friend of mine's face, and he said, "Take a look at him again." All his head was split open. So that was the age of 17. And what I realized from that, you know, to know the meaning of death is to know the meaning of life. It kind of made me realize I was 17. This guy was like 21. Well, you should drink together in the local bar and talk about maybe getting a band together and stuff like that. So that incident, and then my dad dying years later. And of course, when we was on the road, we took that guy from Joy Division with us. He hung himself at the end of a tour. Then we had
That's right. You brought them on tour. For people who don't know, let me just keep people in line. I know this. Right. You guys were such a startup band to begin with. I mean, if Steve was such a troublemaker at his job and got fired from organizing a group of people, he wouldn't even be playing right now. Young rapscallion he was at the time. But the journey was, it's self-made. They started the DIY thing really was pretty much inspired by you guys. And then you brought along Joy Division. And unfortunately, at the end of the tour that you had Joy Division, the singer had ended up hanging himself with he had his own issues. But once again, that's where we're at with that in case people weren't following. Okay.
Sure. And then, of course, we went on tour with Nirvana later in the 90s, and Kurt killed himself at the end, you know. String of deaths, really. The day we signed the record deal, Elvis Presley died. Mark Bolan from T-Rex, he had a television show. And we just brought out our first EP, Spiral Scratch. And he invited us on his TV show, and he died. Mm-hmm. So building up to the beat death, that was kind of like, fuck, I'm getting used to this. Well, you build up the emotions and ways to deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
So there's all the people I mentioned, it's like, fuck, I was with that guy kind of yesterday or whatever, you know, and now he's gone, you know.
It's crazy.
Really?
It's almost like if you part of it is, well, Pete, it's just the age. We're all at the age now. We're like, you do more funerals and deaths. Is how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the next, your friend is always like, oh, they got a new condition, a new set of pills, a new ailment, a new oil, right? But also with the music, the field that you were in deals with a lot of artists, and a lot of art comes from tragedy or hardship. So then you look at Joy Division, Kurt Cobain, there's a lot of depression and illness. So the common theme of that also has overlapped with you and your artists and your career. You, however, are pretty upbeat as a songwriter too, you know. So it kind of goes kind of against the theme of almost like the genre you've been kind of, you know, put into.
Yeah, I think in the face of adversity, I kind of deal with that inspiration thing, you know.
Yeah.
Personal inspiration thing. I try and pass that on a lot in my songs, and it's also for me to get something rather than kind of go down. I mean, I don't mind getting down with a song, but it's still underneath it, inspirational to me underneath, and hopefully to people that listen to it. You know?
Yeah,
it's not modeling depression for depression's sake. You know, I mean, some of those artists we mentioned, they made a choice to kill themselves. That's a different thing. You know,
absolutely.
I understand all this stuff, and that comes into your music, but. Kind of read as a kid, read a lot of existential books, you know, your Dostoevsky, Ultras and all this. And all that deals with a lot of death in some ways, you know. Almost kind of pointing out, because like I say, when I had that car accident, I thought I know the meaning of, I walk around in a trance thinking, fuck, that's how quick we can go in life. You know, I'm 17 years old. You're kind of used to your granny dying or your relation are old. You're kind of mentally prepared for that somehow, but when it's someone from your local bar, when you're 17, it's like, fuck, he was only 21, you know, it's unlike the James Dean of the piece, you know, he went. And that made me realize a lot of things, you know.
But the fact you kept with it, though, you caught that, though, sorry, but you caught that. But imagine, the last 17 years, that was like, oh, that's awful, that's gross, or they go another way with it. You took it and you actually kept it with you. You viewed it almost as almost like an adult, like later on in life, you can look back at things that happened and go, I get why that happened. I see where that shaped me. You made that decision at 17 and kept that as a cognitive thought through your life, which has been helpful. But that's not a normal thing that most 17-year-old boys are thinking.
Well, that's it. You know, at 17, you kind of think you know all, but you're also very innocent, or in a sense, you don't know half of it, you know. And so to have that lesson, you know, you had your kids at school, then had a job, caused the strike, and then, you know, in a steel foundry, and caused the strike there. That was a big incident. And all the workers came for me, you know. It's like Marlon Brando at the waterfront, you know.
You were just...
But there was something there, and I said, I'm going to put my coat on, get on the bus, go home, tell my folks, you know, I've finished with the job, and I'm never going to work again, you know. And I didn't.
No, because you do what you love. You mean there's challenges, but you know, I get what you're saying. That's brilliant. That was in
or inbuilt gyroscope, you know. And then the next thing, that friend of mine died. But then it just gave me a whole lot of meanings about life, that kind of thing. You know? So suddenly, when we started doing the music, that would have been there, someone, you know, that was part of my education, that depth thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that every second counts, or it's possible it could disappear, you know, because we're always sold that this great future somewhere, you know, this utopian dream of things like, yeah, you'll get a job, you'll get married, everything's going to be great, you know.
You got to listen. Yeah. What's the advantage of whoever's selling that dream? Like, what are they getting out of that deal? You got to always kind of question who's selling you that deal.
Yeah, you know, we're all, somewhere along the line, you grow up with that till you figure out, do you really want that or not? You know, I realized I didn't want that when I was 17, but I had these depth things to deal with as well. So, you know, it had, I guess, a profound effect. But out of that, became the other things, you know, the kind of inspiration thing and the way of looking at life in different ways, you know, which is always in my lyrics somehow, you know.
That's the thing. So yeah, I don't want to focus on death because I just want to bring people up to speed. I mean, I don't do it, but yeah, but the lyrics and stuff has affected you like from the beginning to now to your solo albums, and what we're doing now is you're continuing on. And people aren't aware, Buzzcocks are still here. They're not going anywhere, which is great. It shouldn't go anywhere, and this is, you know, it was good news to hear that it didn't end.
Yeah, we kind of so suddenly then Pete dies, we do that Royal Albert Hall gig, make a tribute for big gig in London. And then it's like, you know, do you want to, well, a lot of fans said, carry on, Steve, you know, and I thought, well, if Buzzcocks stop, then, you know, they're dead as well, really. Well, it'll be a memory, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm still here. The manager said, we're still in the land of the living, you know. And funny enough, Pete, we've done some shows just before he died, only a couple of weeks before, and he said, "I'm thinking of retiring, carry on with my blessing," you know. And I said, "No, you ain't going anywhere, man. We've got things to do, you know." He came to my room twice on that tour, you know. We'd have a little drink and general chat, but he mentioned twice. He said, "Carry on with my blessing," and I was kind of like, "What are you talking about? You ain't going nowhere." We finished those shows, and within less than a week, I got the phone call. He died. So it was almost like he was saying, "Carry on," you know. I mean, that was
Clearly he was. I mean, to get that is special because let's face it, a few things. Sometimes bands don't want you to go on without them. Splits or breakups. The fans can take different sides. And they can be like, it's not the same band. There's blah blah blah. You know, whatever. To me, it's rock and roll on whatever you want to call it. It's music. It's fun. No one works at the same company forever. Nothing lasts the same forever. Go out and have fun. You know what I mean? And don't hurt anybody. And the fact that he said it to you, it's weird. Like with the health issues, did he know in the back of his mind he wasn't feeling that good? Like maybe not. Maybe he was going to pass away, but maybe he was going to retire physically or such a weird. And saying you're going to retire is always a death wish. You know that, don't you? Don't ever say you're going to retire. I had a friend that retired. 3 weeks later, he died. You just never can retire. That's it. You just do something different. Take a break, but don't ever say retire.
Maybe even the fact you talk about it might have killed him. You know what I mean? You know, he's retiring, like you say, and usually that kills people a lot of the time, doesn't it? You know.
You know, people say you think you hold hate, you get cancer, you think too much of something, you're manifesting something in your brain. Who knows?
You're bringing it in, aren't you? You know, yeah. So that was a big thing. And then, so we did that, but then we managed to, because of booking times, you need at least 3 or 4 months to book shows. So we did like 10 shows after that tribute show, and it went really well. You know, all the fans came. I even said in one interview, I think it was in a place called Newcastle, in a magazine, I said, I only want positive people there, you know. Don't come if you're going to complain, you know. You know, if you can bring Pete Shelley back, fine, I'll be the first there. But, you know, get fucking real with this, you know. He's gone. We're carrying on. That's the way it is. Don't come you know, complaining about that thing because it's not.
But he was endorsing it, but he endorsed it too. I mean, he was, you know, so it's not even like you were like in some band and it's like 2 versions of Buzzcocks out there and you guys are fighting illegal, you know, 2 sides. There's nothing. It was a unit and he was going to move on. You were still going to go on. It's a shame you lost your best friend is what it comes down to at this point.
Well, we did those 10 shows with me kind of fronting it. And
how'd that feel?
Off it live anyway, mainly as well. but during the years. But it all went really well. It was fantastic. Nobody, people were singing the songs, getting into the music, and we'd brought out a new single quickly. So I said, if we're going to do a tour, I want a new single. It's not just playing the old stuff. The old stuff's great to play, but I said I want to make it relevant, So
yeah,
we did bring out a new single, which sold out really quickly and sold out in the stalls and in the shops and whatever.
The Gotta Get Better single, double A side, and Destination Zero.
Destination Zero, yeah, Gotta Get Better was the A side.
Yeah,
I think I like the B side better.
well, let's talk about both of them though. So let's talk. So Destination Zero. Let's talk about that. That's that song first. So you choosing that for the single? What backstory on that?
Yeah, the A side was the pop side, and the B side. Funny enough, me and the manager never discussed which should be the side. And after it was pressed, I said, I would rather the other side. And he said, you should have told me.
I've actually heard it called a double A side, so I've actually even heard it called like just two A sides for it.
But when you think back to all them classic Buzzcocks singles, it was always the same. The side was always as good, And we always used to have the problems then of thinking, we'd go in the studio with two songs to make the single, and it'd be like, well, which is going to be the A and which is the B? And it was only a fine line which side was going to be which,
Which is hard because then you're like, you don't want to be putting on a bad song either on the other side, so you don't want to be wasting songs, but they're both good songs.
No, we never went in and said we've got an A side, let's just put something on the B side. There was always two A sides, There was, and it was like, well, you've got to choose one. Apart from many years ago, we did the last 6 singles before we kind of split for a while in the 80s. Didn't have an A or B side, which caused EMI Records a lot of problems. There was this one side or something, and the other side, but they're both A sides. And of course, record companies have major problems with that. But we said that's the way it is. There's no A and B sides. So we've always had that thing, but we always class them as good. We've never done, that's the throwaway B side kind of trip, Having said that, in the future, I was thinking when you was young and you'd go and put some money on a jukebox in a bar or somewhere, B sides were interesting in the 70s because there was kind of deliberate B side, not just throwaway. It was like, we've got the great A side. Let's do something weird on the B side,
Exactly. It would be a cover of you didn't expect, or a deeper cut, or an instrumental. But yeah, it was always something that was totally abstract for the artist you would not expect.
Yeah, or something that it didn't quite sound like the band properly. You know what I mean? Something a bit obscure, and I thought, I wouldn't mind looking, even though now you can cherry pick on the internet, but I thought it'd be quite interesting to do weird B-sides in the future, or bring that mentality back a bit,
Oh, totally. You could do some covers and stuff too, or mix it up, live stuff, and not you putting all your best stuff out on like.
But what kind of B-sides are about? I mean, I don't know whether an album of greatest B-sides,
I've heard bands too, actually. They're B singles, the greatest Bs.
Obscure as well, not just like, oh, that's the B-side. It's like just have a different vibe, And in the 70s, some of them did, it was like, that sounds a little bit weird, the band have took it somewhere else for a moment,
I used to love to do that in places like a pizza place, and you have the two sides, and everyone would be in there, and everyone have to listen to what you would do. Besides always doing the same song like 5 times in a row and then leaving, you would do the thing where you would you do the deep cut, and everyone's like, they would like not know it, and you'd like, yeah, it'd be fun.
We went to the bars. We always used to do that. Say like the Rolling Stones Satisfaction, the B-side was Spider to the Fly,
Yeah.
Regular
it's a good example.
Wouldn't know what that was, back in the day,
That's a good example exactly of doing it right, of doing a B-side the right way.
Yeah,
That's totally the right way. It's also different because singles now, A and B sides, is almost on some level, not everyone does singles. It's more of a niche thing. Like I do vinyl still. So it's like the words of saying, oh, it's saying like, this is a podcast, when technically a podcast was just audio, but now a podcast is considered video too. Like the names have changed. Like you call a record. I have records, but like when Goodbye Records, it's not really a record anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like the terminology has changed so much. So now when you like you can do an A and B side, you're like, to really do an A and B side is a physical thing. Is almost kind of different than what people think of your A single and your B single is. You know what I mean? The landscape with media has gotten goofy.
Yeah, I mean it's weird to move on with it, isn't it? But I still think of it like that.
Oh, I do too.
B-sides, like you say, a lot of young kids go, "What's a B-side?" You know, once they
My
did
kid,
record is.
my kids don't actually use record players. You know, like a lot of kids don't even know how to use a record player. I'm like, they know how to use my record player and play the Beatles and the Stones and stuff. I can't. Most albums I don't even get that are past like late 80s, early 90s. Most albums of artists that were recorded just because of the sound is not really designed for vinyl. One of the things that's really good is in your songwriting. You've always kept a very upbeat in your songwriting, and it's very personal on a good level, but it's very relatable. When you're doing that, are you writing how you writing your songs? Are you doing like the acoustic thing? Are you doing a melody? How are you breaking your songwriting down? Has it changed a little bit over the years?
Well, with the solo, I did some acoustic things, even one acoustic with Buzzcocks, but it kind of varies really. I mean, after we did that tour, COVID came along,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly we're all grounded for a year and a half or whatever. So I thought, well, the only thing I can do now is get down writing the new Buzzcocks up.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. And to be honest, COVID was very good for me. I should get a badge. I love COVID because it kind of.
You want to be careful when you wear that badge, though. Huh?
Give me time to personally analyze myself, as it did for a lot of people.
No.
I think if you look at the philosophical side of COVID, it was like, well, you've got to get used to who you are again. You've got to find out who you are. You can't go anywhere. You're kind of locked in a room with yourself. Do you remember who you were
Right.
before that? So there's those elements to it, if you look at it positively, I know all the rest of it, like society had stopped and stuff, but so that's what I've been doing. I wrote the new Buzzcocks album during the COVID time, and it's kind of interesting because I halfway through right now. I thought, well, normally Pete's there with me as well. I have my department, the Steve Diggle department. He has his Pete
Right.
Shelley, and we've got to react against each other sometimes with the chemistry. And so I brought some elements of him. I thought, I'm still bringing him with me on this, halfway through writing these songs. I thought, some Pete Shelley moments here. So I've looked at this album with the dynamics of both of us going on it,
I like that. That's kind of the question, because it's interesting because you've done solo stuff and you've done flag of yeah, thank you. So when you write, sometimes you write, it's always you, but with the Buzzcocks, to keep that sound without making it solo, but keep the Buzzcock sound. But you've written with him so long, you know how he writes now too, so you can kind of put that play in it and keep it going.
Yeah, and it was halfway through. I thought, I don't want to make it my solo album, but when you start, you start off the writing, and then you've got a few.
Well, that's the danger.
And I'm kind of thinking, I want to make a Buzzcocks album, take it with all the classic elements, but take it forward as well, a little bit forward. Some new elements to it, but have all the classic elements. So I'm thinking that way. And then I got around to thinking, well, you've got the Pete type songs. I've got to get into a bit of those as well, and bring some of that in, which eventually I started doing. And I thought, this is giving me a picture and molding this new Buzzcocks album. I've got all the elements there, all the colours on the palette. But it took a while. It took a few weeks and months because just that realization of it, At first,
you had to write to you had somebody else writing, doing Pete stuff. Pete.
Well,
you never thought of that.
I've known the guy long enough. I mean, we know each other well, Trevor. Considering when we did those last 10 days, I'm kind of singing in his range, like, and what do I get, stuff like that.
Yeah, how does that go? Because as we age, our voices get differently, and now you're singing in his range at a different point in your life. Was that a little bit of a
Yeah,
challenge?
yeah, not really, because I used to like kind of go deeper and rockier because he was singing like that. You know, he had his own things, so I'd react to it that higher range, and I'd go a bit more darker, heavier range to complement each other. You know.
It sounds good. Actually, I've heard some of the live stuff of you doing it, and I actually like it. I was questioning how much you felt like you were really kind of had to work it a little bit because that wasn't usually your gig prior, you know.
Yeah, if we was both kind of singing in that high voice, going "Nobody loves me," it'd be like, "Not you as well," you know what I mean? But two guys with the same fucking problems,
That really.
you know. And you know, with songs like Autonomy and even Why Can't I Touch It was my groove, you know. He wrote the words, but that essentially was my. I used to always try and take it in different areas because Pete was quite linear a lot of times, you know. So, but so I kind of took elements of all that. Really, I was aware of all that stuff. So, like a fine whiskey, I blended a bit of his voice into my voice and come up with a third person, if you see what I mean. This,
See, that's
you know, there was little trips along the way. And I've kind of made a new Buzzcocks voice for myself, in a sense, you know.
that's good.
So when you hear this album, this new album, you'll think, "Fuck, that's Buzzcocks." It won't
I'm
be.
thinking your fine wine, your fine whiskey, your blending analogy there.
Yeah.
See, you look at yourself classy. I look at myself. I'm like a bottle of wine you put in a paper bag and you drink behind a gas station. You have a nicer version of yourself. This is exciting. So the one thing with you guys is that I've always loved is the play of the vocals with two singers. With the future of the band, how are you gonna try doing that too? Like as you're doing the other vocals, are you gonna have someone else kind of coming in and doing your version of what you were doing, sort of, or incorporating something different?
But I've kind of got a guy that plays with a slide down guitar, but I don't think he's not from Manchester. He's Italian, so you know he can sing well for live. But you know, but with multi-tracking these days, I mean, you remember, it's like the Beatles. When you listen to the Beatles, by the time of the White Album, they're multi-tracking themselves. You know, this is John Lennon doing "Happiness Is a Warm Gun," or it's all in multi-track mainly. You know, so.
Oh, studio you can do it. I meant like live, though. Are you gonna have somebody maybe do a little bit play in the background with you?
Yeah, but yeah, for the studio. Funny, I mean, I'm kind of in the studio at the moment. We've done all the backing tracks. We've got a festival and a couple of shows coming up in, I think it's like 2 weeks. So I'm rehearsing with the band for those shows, and like the next day I'm in the studio. Then I'm rehearsing with the band. I'm in the studio. We're doing it on kind of old every day, but I've kind of got the voices for this thing, you know. I've got a new high one, which suits me, you know, which part of my thing, you know. But elements of Pete in it, and then elements of me and all that. So just to make more sense of it being a Buzzcocks song. Plus the fact it's got all the elements of classic Buzzcocks song, like sounds, but like the future, you know.
Well, we will promote this on the channel if you want to come back. Well, we can break down the album and talk some more about it too. I want people to hear it and really.
All the songs are really catchy, you know. Catchy as COVID, as I say.
Oh, that's your new slogan. You're the new variant. Oh God.
Made them all classic catchy Buzzcocks ones, you know what I mean, and all that. And there's some heavy dark ones, you know, they've got the chugs. We've even got like a new Why Can't I Touch It. It's called Experimental Farm, about the food we eat, about the things you put in your mouth, and the GM foods and the government control. So that's the political one, you know.
That's good. It's a thing. You guys have always been a thinking band too. I've also been a heart on your sleeve punk. And the punk bands didn't know what to do because you guys were such a heartfelt band too. You know, you always play which is kind of punk, doing your own thing. You know.
Yeah, but it's punk in our way. We you know, we never just point to the government and said the government's wrong. It's like do I need to tell any kid that? It'd be like, fucking up, that's too simple for us, We know the world's a complex place, If I got to say government's wrong, I mean, kids would go, fuck, really?
Well, nowadays, everybody looks at their government nowadays. They can go online everywhere. We can all go, it's not just them, it's us, it's everybody. We can all see, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, man, I dealt with it. I had that solo album in the Space Times a couple of years ago, and that was like, hide yourself, fuck the government, be your own president of your own body, If you turn your back on them, they've got no audience. That was the thinking behind me in a Space Times album,
Actually, I've heard that. It's a good album too. I recommend people go back and listen to your solo stuff. Just listen to everything. I mean, it all stands the test of time,
Yeah, if I carried on as a solo artist and did the Buzzcock songs and my solo stuff, because I want to do that at some point as well, a blend of the two.
Well, they're your songs. You're saying,
Well, this doing, maybe I'm seeing it as a kind of a bridge album as well, because this will be like a classic new Buzzcocks. I mean, it sounded great what I heard in the studio. It sounded really good. But I'm hoping to take it somewhere else as well with the Buzzcocks, you know what I mean? With a kind of keep putting a modern twist on it somewhere, or a refreshing thing.
Or relevant, keep it well, you guys are relevant. I mean, and the fact your sound has never changed like live. You've never gotten weaker. It's always, I mean, people go online, look at crappy YouTube videos, and you guys still sound good on a crappy YouTube video. That's a testament to,
Well, on the songwriting basis as well, I mean, I've got Logic and all that crap on my laptop, but I didn't fucking use it. It takes too much time, fucking about. So I use a 4-track cassette player.
I was gonna say, like, give me a Tascam, right? The old Tascam, remember those? That's what I had. That's how I started.
Port Studio, I loved it.
Yeah.
I gave it to an American guy that lives down the road from me. He's got a studio in Maine, a massive studio. I think his dad wrote a lot of hits in the 50s. But he said he'd get my original Tascam fixed, and he's lost it, I've got a Korg at the moment. I've got a few of them, old ones. And I've got the TIAC one. It's just, the button's kind of gone. I'm going to get a new one. I think they're about $500,
Yeah.
That's a 24-track, but I only use 8, But going back to the 4-track one I've got, I thought, that minimizes all the nonsense, and sometimes just need a little drum machine, a bit of a guitar, and a melody,
There's a danger. There's a rabbit hole, right?
That's all
the technology rabbit hole. Sometimes next thing you know, it's 3 days later, and you're working on one sound for your guitar, and you forgot what the song idea was.
Well, that's what happened in the end. When I'd done a few songs on the tape recorder, I just ended up standing there with the guitar, doing it all in my mind. I thought I can't be bothered switching the tape on, and I thought, if you can't just fucking strum a chord and play this song live, and it takes a while to get out of these habits of fucking messing about on these computers and go, look, that's a fucking song right there. In your mind, you just play a couple of chords and back to them elements that kind of work.
Even if the first time going through, it's good to do it. And maybe later down the studio, someone can say, hey, why don't we, you know what I mean? Mess around with everybody. When you're doing the main song.
Ben was saying to me, send me a fucking thing on the computer. I went, no fucking, no. I said, one, I'm not sure whether I can do that, but two, you've got to get in the room. I'm going to fucking say goes like this, and you've got to play along, And I think that there's a lot of elements there that keep it good, about that, But anyway, around song, it's like, you don't need all this fucking stuff, I mean, I'm a music room here, but also I've got a shed outside in the garden. I've got an old beat-up guitar and a little amp. Because it was very sunny in the COVID, I wrote a lot out there,
Yeah.
On barely anything,
But that's what comes down to the best songs. They say if it's a good song, you can take an acoustic guitar. You can play it anywhere if it's a good song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I was synthesizing emotions and things, anything, because I have cassette players out in there. I still got my old tapes. I still got my records, all that.
Yeah.
you know, I've got an iPad with the fucking music, you know, if I want to Google something quick. But so notions of things that were affecting me, you know. I found a David Bowie greatest hits cassette, you know, an official one. So I had that running by, and I'm sure something came out of that, all these early hits in it, in my mind and through the guitar, you know. And then there'd be other artists, but I just put them on when I was having a rest, you know. But essentially, I was thinking Buzzcocks. But I never listened to a Buzzcock song because it was very hard listening to Pete's voice, to be honest. You know, it was I fucking wrote their pieces, you know what I mean? And it's still difficult now. And it's difficult for a few other members of the band. It's like, fuck, when you hear Pete's voice, you know. But just having them things in your mind and using your mind again in a lot of ways and using that minimalist thing to get to a song, which I thought that's what we did back in 1976, really, you know. It's what fucking Cherry used to do, and people, you know what I mean? For all this fucking technology stuff. You know,
the way that's what you guys are. The Buzzcocks are a good pop melody with great lyrics and generally two different vocals and something smart and usually something in your heart or something you think about, you know what I mean? With a great pop song. And it's all 4 instruments, you know, and 4 musicians all playing their own instruments and 2 guys singing, like really co-singing at times. That to me is a Buzzcock sound, you know? Yeah. And that's kind of what you're doing. And you're doing the 2 voices, you're doing it all.
But that's why I don't want to, that's why I never sent the band anything, really, you know what I mean? I kind of said, look, we've got to go in a room and I'm going to show you the song. And I want to see you react to it, you know? Like,
I'm excited.
So it's good like that, you know. I think we recorded about 14 songs. I mean, I'm on to the second album now. I'm writing some stuff for that. But I've got to get this one done. I'll be in this week in the studio doing the guitars and stuff like that, you know.
What are we looking at for maybe a release for us to hear it, for people to hear it? For release, what are you thinking?
I don't know. As soon as we can get it done, really. It's just that a couple of other members have been busy doing things and we had COVID. So that did, because I wrote these songs a few months back.
Yeah.
And ready to go for it, but then you couldn't get in the studio because of COVID. And then, you know, it's never happened before with the Buzzcocks band, but it's like, you know, the drummer has got his kids or something. I'm like, what the fuck? This is rock and roll. We don't know all this shit, you know.
We're the Buzzcocks. We don't do this. We do music. We got to get going. We got to tour. We need to do music.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac going. We're reconvening in another 6 months and all that. You know, I don't, you know, bands in the 70s like that. You know.
And right, and you luckily only have 4 members. If you had as many members as a touring band of Fleetwood Mac, you would never have time to get together. That's why it takes so long.
No, I remember in the 70s, some guy got a helicopter. I won't say the band is. I was working in the studio in Manchester. I think in an evening we put at least 6 songs down. This is one of the Buzzcocks. This is my flag of convenience band.
Yeah.
Some guy who got a helicopter back, he phoned up the studio and said, I've got the second line for the second verse for that song. You got a helicopter. Did the second line, got back in the helicopter and went back.
Wow.
Thought, what the you know?
You know, looking back, those are funny stories from the 70s. Can you imagine that nowadays, somebody doing that? They're like, I could have done that on my bed, on my computer. You know what I mean? Are you insane? That's what you're going to do? You're going to fly the helicopter, not an island, not somewhere else.
Proper extravagance, you know. I don't know what
it's like.
Probably makes it worse, I think. You know, the spontaneity's gone. You know? He probably got the helicopter back next week to do it again, you know. I got the third line now. I'll fly back, you know. That's another one.
I know. Well, yeah, you better have a couple good platinum albums to pay for that, just to pay for that too. But what's good is just you're still creating that. That's where the happiness is, you know.
Is the kind of go like, yeah, sure, we'll play, and then it's like, by the way, you don't know you're always this, you know.
Well, I would say, you know, because the record labels aren't banks; they're just financial. They're musical financial, you know. Actually, they are banks. I'm sorry, they're musical banks. Is what they are. You know what I mean? They're not your friends. They're not. A lot of them, they finally say, I don't really understand why people are buying your stuff. You're not a hit. When they say you're not good, they mean we don't think we can make money off you. Is what they really just said. We don't know where we can make money. We're an investment group.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've never gone down
You
that
you
road.
you guys actually were one of the first bands to make your own records. If people don't know, you guys actually
We
pressed
never
your first 500 or 1,000 records. You guys, and you kind of started it,
500.
right?
Yeah, that was just for local fans because we'd never heard ourselves in the studio, and we didn't know what was going to happen with it. But we was playing the local gigs there, and then it was like, well, the fans will buy it, and of course it
Yeah.
got reviewed in papers, and it went through the roof.
And
We
that
had
was
to
76, 77. I'm not
right,
sure the exact year, right? 76 or 77. You did that, right?
76. Yeah,
My God, think about that now. That's some trend setting.
I had to. Well, it was like if we took the tape to the studio, they'd probably laugh us out of the building at that time because nobody's, you know, Spyro's
No,
crap, like rough, and we knew there was magic there, but it was like, we took this into a record uh, company, they wouldn't know what the hell it was about. So we pressed up the 500 records, and it was like £1,000, $1,000, and they quickly sold out and got major reviews. It was like a piece of art. Then suddenly we had 6 major record companies wanting to
right.
sign it.
But on paper, you guys would never sounded like, besides the sounding music, and then and then like your first single, which the band was, it was Orgasmatic, which is totally not a commercial song, especially back in the '70s. And then, well, we're kind of a punk band, sort of, but we also sing about love. Wait, what? So like on paper, you guys totally went against everything that sounds like what would make money. Like literally the first single is going to be totally something that's not going to be commercial and censored, and we've never heard of this before, so we want you to sign us. And oh yeah, and we do love songs as punk band sort of at the time. That was the label at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the reason we signed United Artists, with the guy that came around with us, A&R guy that was talking to us. I mean, we had 6 major record companies wanted to sign us after the initial Spiral Scratch record we made, and we said we want artistic control, really, because we never sat down to write a hit ever. It was like they became hits because people voted with their feet for them. It wasn't like, hey, let's write a hit fucking single. So when we signed, the um, first single for United Artists was Orgasmatic, like you say. And then that got put back, the release date got put back at least 3 weeks because the record plant went out on strike for a moment, said, we're not printing this filth.
But it worked
Orgasmatic.
because that was the first song I heard from you guys when I was a teenager. My friend's like, "You got to hear this." Puts in his cassette player in his Camaro and goes, "You got to hear these guys." And that was it.
We had the problem with the record pressing plant. They refused to press it at first. They're going, this is disgusting filth. Orgasmatic. um, so yeah. I mean, it wasn't designed to be a massive hit at the time, but it was. And the amount of people that come to the shows and go, when I was a kid, I was playing that in my bedroom, and my folks would go, "What the fuck are you talking? What? Orgasmatic? Take that thing off."
Right? Well, it's funny. It's a play on words, and it's not, and it's also. But the thing is, with that, just the music itself, though, it's so catchy. You could put any words to that song. It was such a
Yeah,
happy beat. It's happy. It's like when they talk about angel chords, you play the rock chords that make you feel good. Those angel chords. That's what a lot of
yeah.
your songs have in them. They have this really you and the Buzzcocks sound is very happy, no matter what it's about.
Yeah, it was kind of like, you know, we were trying there at the beginning of the punk thing, and when you think
But
it
you were
was like
singing too, though. You guys could sing.
not like
That,
Isis Sex Pistols, really.
I thought.
When you amphetamine kind of fueled angst, it was that kind of stuff we were doing, really. And like I say, simple, straight to the point music, really. With the
But I was
orgasm.
thinking, you guys sang though. Well, a lot of punk bands couldn't sing either, so you guys had a nice melody. That punks had a melody and some, and I'm not because I like those bands that couldn't sing either, so it's not about that. You guys actually had real singing voices, and there's 2 guys that could sing in a band that wrote melodic songs in a punk band, which kind of made you guys a little bit different.
Yeah. And also, it made us realize, you had the initial explosion of punk, and people go, "No, you're a punk man, you're a punk," but then after a couple of singles, people started to differentiate. You know, the Clash became the Clash, the Damn became the Damn, the Jam became the Jam, and Buzzcocks became the Buzzcocks. It was like,
You're
oh, I
like,
get.
I'm still a mod. I haven't changed. I'm still a mod.
Well, I was, yeah. You know,
I
I
know you
used
were.
to, with all the '60s music. You know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're like, where's this punk thing? I'm still a mod. I'm playing guitar. I'm a mod.
I enjoyed the attitude because, like I say, of course, the strike at the factory, and when I got on the stage, it was like, well, I could put two fingers up to the world and people are relating to it. You know, back in '76, that was a massive thing. It's like,
Mhm.
we see where you're coming from. We're in, you know. There was that raw, direct feeling and power with the audience and the band of that, you know, and it was like a carpet bomb in Britain and the same in the States. And of course, you had the Ramones as well, which when we started, I think we just got the first Ramones album too, you know, and that was
Nice.
a big inspiration, you know. It's
You
like
know,
it's we've got like, but before that, I mean, I mean, you know, you kind of grew up with the Kinks and the Who and you know, Beatles, Stones on there, Bob Dylan in my case as well. Because that was one of the first albums I heard. The girl, my mate's girlfriend had the first Beatles album and first Bob Dylan album.
that's
And
always
I,
surprising to hear that. You know, the Beatles I get because I'm a big Beatles fan, but to hear a lot of punk and we say punk now, but at the time, punk inspired and like even thrash bands, and it seems like a lot of heavier bands or higher energy bands from UK around the '70s were like, yeah, I was listening to Bob Dylan. You're like, what? Which is
yeah,
fantastic.
I was always a bit nervous to say during the early punk days. You kind of couldn't say you like Bob Dylan,
No,
but he had a massive impact on me, you know, because I was 7 years old. I went across the road to hear the Beatles album. This girl was drying a long blonde hair with a hairdryer, which I'd never seen because it was 1962, you know. And the Russians in 1959 had put a Sputnik on the moon. So
right.
I thought she's got a Sputnik. She's drying her hair, long
You're like
blonde
this
hair.
far from a laser gun, right?
We used to have a towel, that's all. But and you know, it's the beginning of consumerism and you know, new technology for the hair dryers and record players. And I heard the first Beatles album. I had Twist and Shout the EP, but I couldn't afford the album, you know.
Yeah.
And the first Bob Dylan album, he's singing "Blowing in the Wind," and I thought, I don't know what that guy's saying, but he's telling me something, you know. So I kind of said, so I think Bob was a punk as well. He always has been, really.
Well, I think it's an attitude. I think now we can look back and be like, it doesn't have to be a certain out of tune guitar or tuned in this or that. Punk is an attitude, and now
Yeah.
we can't break away from it. And it's funny. Bob Dylan, you can be like, oh, his voice makes me crazy, or he's a genius. You can go everywhere with it. But if you really sit down, and you look at Bob Dylan's like his lyrics and what he's done.
Yeah.
He more of an anarchist and a punk, inspiring creative freedom. You know, as a songwriter, there's a different level that you're not seeing as you listen to. Lona Wind is a good pop song, or Simon and Garfunkel. But if you pull back a lot of the covers on things like that, you're like, oh, I get it. There's so much more to that, and to what he was doing, and he didn't explain it to people. He didn't apologize. He's acoustic. Everyone loves him. He's like, know what? I'm gonna grab my electric guitar now, and everyone's like, what? He's like, that's what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna explain it to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep creating and writing songs, and if you're there, you're there. He's still doing it now. I think still sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
punk.
You know, there's a density with Dylan, as people know, that, you know, it's inspired everybody, I think. And it's just something, you know, he's always kind of stuck to his guns with the thing. And like I say, that's about the attitude and the way he sees things. And he's managed to about carve his way in his own way, you know. And so, you know, that's like punk in its way, the Dylan way, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people look at him like there's like the Bob Dylan, like a singer or songwriter. There's like the famous version of artists, and then there's like why like a lot of other musicians like an artist. You like, you know, is there the Buzzcocks pop song single? Oh, I like a good song, and then I'll listen to the next single that comes up. Or you're like, oh, I like the songs that Steve and Pete have written over the past 30, 40 years as artists. Buzzcock fan. You know what I'm saying? There's like, so there's always like two different layers of fans that really get it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I used to say, I used to like Joe Strummer singing and Bob Dylan. Anybody who they said couldn't sing, that's what inspired me,
Right?
I didn't want a great singer. I thought they were the great singers when I was a kid,
And it's funny. I was just having this talk just the other day with an artist. And you hear these singers, like there's a really good female singer out there, but there's a lot of like women generally sing a lot better, I think, than men. Their voices are just higher, but the voices it always seems like there's less of a similarity. Like, but there's like a lot of men singers that sing. They may not be technically as good, but they stand out, and it's almost like the standout factor. And you're singing your own stuff. There's an emotion to it that makes you a better songwriter and a good singer. And sometimes they couldn't sing other people's songs; they sound horrible, but they sound great on their own stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's I think I love that. I love that about the singers.
Grew up with a lot of Motown music and soul music as a kid as well, especially when I was old and stuff. So I could kind of sing, but I was embarrassed about singing. Like these people on these X Factors, they're all good singers, but there's no resonance in the voice or any fucking depth to them,
Well, that's the
they're
thing.
pretty good, but it's meaningless, you know what I mean? And I always remember feeling embarrassed about that. It's like, when you're at school and they ask you to sing in the choir or something, it's like, really? I can't sing well with that, even if I could sing that kind of thing, you know what I mean? I thought, I don't want that, it's just not me, man. You force them into areas I, don't want to go,
Which is great. You're embarrassed to sing in a group of people where you can be blended in, but you'll sing out in front of other people by yourself.
Yeah, some people love to sing, they want to be like a singer, but they don't know fucking why often. Maybe they want to be famous singing, but it's like,
I call those, they're like performers. It's a different audience, they're performers, and cool, good for you. Not the same.
yeah, that's it. Well, I realized as well, pre-punk, it's like, look, if I get up there, I'm not singing because I want to be loved and adored out there. I'm not one of those fucking singers. I want to go fucking life shit or whatever, What do you think about this proposition? I'm singing that to you. Are we getting it back off each other,
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic. This is great. I mean,
I don't get there for singing to be loved. Like entertainer, it's like, whoa, that's not me, man.
but that's usually where most unhappiness comes from,
I try to sing out there to get on a level with somebody in the audience, you know what I mean?
But that's where you're happy,
Somebody.
As a songwriter and a singer, you're still happy now. A lot of those people, if they don't get accepted for singing, nobody loves them. You're like, that's not why I'm singing. So if you don't like my singing or whatever it is, this year I'm not the flavor of the week commercially, I'm still the same guy I was last month that was in the charts. And next week, if I'm on the charts again, I'm still the same guy I was last week that wasn't. And I don't need your love. I'm a songwriter. If you love my songs, good. But I already have my love.
Yeah, exactly. It just felt more for somebody to get something out of it, like I get something out of records, you know what I mean? When his, when you heard certain records as a kid, or hopefully now, you don't hear too many good ones these days, but them days when you got, I'll never be the same again, I've just heard the new record by somebody and it's like, I'm never going to be the same again. I can't go back, It's that kind of stuff. But if we can get to them areas sometimes, you can't always do it, but it's that stuff really,
He's not a lot of young artists doing it. A lot of older artists that were doing it prior are still releasing music, and that's where you have to go get it. You know what I mean? We're gonna find the heartfelt music. That's where I've gone.
Yeah,
I can enjoy. I mean, I listen to like Steve Conte, who's been in New York Dolls and every other band, or Glenn Matlock just did a single he just put out a while ago on 45. Actually, the vinyl's down there, brilliant. You know what I mean? Heartfelt stuff. Even if it's not heartfelt, there's something about the energy of those guys that you love because they mean it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite things, looking at you, the MC5 on, it's like from some university in about 1971 or something. Fantastic, It's better than the record,
It is. They have a new album coming out.
Like that Cheap Trick one as well. Their live version's better than the record, But it's magic, But at MC5, it's at university now, but you know, that's got magic, you know. Those guys
Once
working
again,
together, you know.
and his
And
writing is
that's
because
what
it's inside of them too. The writing, they're not writing for hits. You know what I mean? Wayne Kramer's
no,
not writing for hits. He's writing what's inside of him still to this day. I just talked to him. He's the same guy inside that he's always been, and he still writes that way. It's
yeah, that's it. And that's why you could still listen to it now. It's like, you
mhm.
know, it's and timeless qualities, that otherworldly stuff, you know. And it was always the same with the Buzzcocks in that way. We never had to ask anybody to get off the seat or clap their hands, you know. There was immediate reaction, which was always important. It's kind of like, you've heard a few things about us, so we want to know about you. And there was that excitement because you're only in the church of rock and roll for about an hour and a half, you know, at a gig.
Yeah.
All your life comes before you in some ways, you know. I'm going out there with all that early past stuff we're talking about, and I'm looking at the crowd and I'm feeling their stuff. And in the middle, you know, you see God, the devil, and everything between the audience and the band. But there's magic there in this holy church of rock and roll. Things that, you know,
The fact that you guys have created something so good that holds so long. All these songs. I mean, not just a couple of the singles that people know. The fans that go, they know every word. We sing through the whole show, and it resonates all these years to people, and it's still relatable. It's still a good love song. It's still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How to do that is how, you know, that's something that every artist wants to do, and you guys got a bag full of them, you know, and you're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite amazing. We've only been to Chile once. We've been to South America a lot, you know, Rio and Sao Paulo and Argentina. We went to Chile one time, and we must go back. It was about 3,000 capacity, big hall. And all these kids knew every word, you know. I couldn't believe it, you know. I thought we'd never been here before. They knew of us, of course, but they knew the words better than us, I think.
On some levels, you guys are actually bigger than you were when you first started, when you guys were big, you know. On some level, you guys are bigger now than you were when you were big when you first started.
Yeah. But it's always that, you know. Even the whore comes respectable in the end, you
know. Oh, Steve, that's hilarious. That's good.
I think well, what's amazing is as well as people our ages and older that comes to the show. So many young kids have discovered the Buzzcocks over the years. You know, we realised as we was played over the years, we've got the new generations, which was a great testament to the songs, really. You know.
Well, that's my point, and that's actually why I'm talking to you, because I know these songs, but I want my audience, which I tried making a varied audience of all different types of music artists, to be like, hey, there's a lot of artists out there that you guys may not have heard of that influenced everything. And
it's a gig and stuff, you know, and we're getting on a bit now. It's like, wow, that's amazing. They get it, you know. But you know, record company demographics and these people that have ruined and rule this stuff, they'll go, you're old guys, you know, no young kid's gonna listen to you. And it's like, excuse me, if you ever came to a show, you'd see, you know. You'd see 14, 18-year-old.
I know, but you take an artist like you, of your stature of like legacy music, it just still stands, right? And take somebody else and you compare your Instagram numbers, and theirs could be, you know, I don't know, 80 times bigger than yours. Then you guys set up a date for a club or a theater to play, and you see who comes to your show, how many people actually show up to your show, and how many people show up to theirs. And the truth is, the numbers are not the same. The media wants these big numbers, but the same people, like a lot of those Instagram ones, that are great to sit on your couch and watch because they're fantastically talented on their beds playing. It's not going to deliver it at the club. Those people are not going to get in their cars and go watch a rock show, you know? And I think that's forgotten.
Yeah.
What those numbers really mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, well, I mean, like young kids still listen to the Beatles or discover the Beatles and get into them at all kind of ages. And also, they're still doing Shakespeare, you know. And he's a lot older than us.
Yeah, right.
Older than us. They still do him.
Yeah.
You know. But so we do cover a lot of ground with them people, which is good because, you know, we was 20 years old when we started, and you don't know whether you're going to the amount of bands we've influenced has been amazing as well. You don't set out to do all those kind of things, and you don't know. You just kind of think your audience is the guys down the road and people your same age, and then, like so over the years, it's been a great testament to the songs that these younger kids have picked up as well. You know, as well as all the great people that stuck with us, you know, over the years, and got it and journey. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. When
oh, you say the love song thing, but you know, we had a few hits with them. You know, a few very strong love songs, but there's a lot that are not. You know what I mean?
I know that. I have to. I mean, even like Loving Life
Kind of gets to me. It's like, whoa, yeah. The other guys that sing the love songs, it's like, well, they're not all love songs by any means. You know what I mean? There's lots that are not. You know.
I realize that maybe step it back to me.
I mean,
even say love. To me, love almost like I feel like for love, almost it's a love of life. It's a love of thinking. It's a positive thing. I probably engulf love into more than whatever because you're not a doom and gloom band, and you always have a smart spin on it. And to me,
songs. I mean, you know, the Rolling Stones and the Beatles wrote love songs as well in their ways. You know what I mean? They all do really, but you know, Fast Cards and Autonomy and stuff. They're not love songs.
No.
But I'd like, you know, we covered a lot of ground. The human condition. I think that's where we're trying to do it. You know,
absolutely.
So, but some of them love songs have been very powerful. So you know, that's been a great thing as well.
Well, they're a touchstone for a lot of people to get into you. You know what I mean? They are your gateway to get to you guys. You know.
Yeah, I mean, people that understand the band a lot and not just bought a compilation album understand it. You
right.
What's that song you had? You know, I think every band gets out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't subscribe to there's nothing to the one hit wonder to me. You know.
That's what they think your band is, just that one hit. You know.
No, you know, I don't believe. I don't like that term. I think it sells very short. It's lazy. It's lazy journalism. It's lazy thinking.
Yeah.
And it's a footnote to get attention. But the truth is, unless you actually had one single, you're not. If you had stuff out there, then it's not a one hit. You know what I mean? It's a weird term.
But during COVID, also thinking about during that COVID period, we had in the 90s, I think we had at least we brought 4 albums out from the beginning of the 90s a few years ago. So we brought a box set out of those as well. So it's like, you know, must be 80 songs on those, you know. And we brought a demo album out. We found a lot of demos that we'd left in the studio, and the demo album's amazing. Fans said to me, how come you didn't put this one on? And it's like, even I don't know. It was kind of like we'd be in the studio and we'd have some left over.
Yeah. By
the time we would sort of record the album, it's like, well, we got these new songs, and then you'd forgotten the other ones because you're in a different studio. So we put this demo album out on vinyl, and that's really good. I mean, it blew me away as well. I thought, you know, I knew I had cassette for these, but we managed to unearth things. And Cherry Red, the record label that was doing it, they was really good at finding people. You know, they found little demos. I mean, there's a couple of demos from my Porter's studio that I haven't got now. And I thought I had. I took one cassette to a studio one time when we was going to do an album in the 80s. And and I thought, fuck, somebody's got that. I'm kind of glad they did, because it's like, you know, extra tracks on these things we put out, you know, from little home demos.
How crazy is that? That was a thing.
Studio demos. So over the last year, we've had a good time. We brought a lot of people up to date with stuff, and a few lines.
And we'll have all the links for everybody's listening. We'll put all the links for all this underneath the show, so people can click and get the albums and listen to them and support the artists and the website, all this stuff. We're gonna have all the links, all your media, to direct people to see your stuff. Okay.
There's a lot of history there. I mean, I don't say, when I've met Pete Townsend a few times, I don't go, yeah, you had that song. What was it? My Generation.
Yeah, right.
No,
There's a couple of
You need to be. He had a couple more, didn't he? At least you need to be going on to Who's Next and all the rest of it, which is a completely different style than those early hits. You know, the kids are all right. So. But that's what it's like if somebody says, "Oh, you're the guys that did Ever Fall in Love." It's like, please, man, you know what I mean? You bought a compilation album with us, Blondie, and some other fuckers, and
Yep.
you know, get real, follow the band, you know, get on the journey.
There's a lot of, you guys have a lot of good stuff, a lot, and that's why I want people to listen to you, and that's why we're talking today. It's you know.
Yeah, I think it gives a better picture of what you're about, you know, and it's kind of the latest of the journey is kind of good on it, you know, it's different. Trying to move it on in different styles. We had that electronic album, Modern, with, like, you know, a bit of electronic keyboard influence with the punk style Buzzcocks. I mean, you know, we went on a couple of different things, you know.
It's just different. Yeah, some people like it, some people don't. It probably sits middle to me. I like, it depends on the mood I'm in. It really, I'm the kind of person who enjoys a band, and I like all the journeys. I'd rather have a band do an album that, not you guys, but anybody that I didn't like because the band did it, because that's what you do. You make music. You're not making it for me. I like it. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, like you say, some people will like that and some people won't. But I kind of knew that. But I thought it'd be great to have that on the, you know, in the catalogue on the journey, you know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
They did that, you know. But a lot of people like it, and then some don't. So after that, the ones that said it doesn't sound like the old Buzzcocks, and the next album we brought some of the elements back, some flat pack philosophy. So okay, then we'll bring, you know. But I think you've got to have them albums where it's a bit like, fuck, a bit dangerous, or it's not quite what people wanted, you know, and all that stuff.
No, some of my favorite groups have done that. Their albums are just totally different because that's what you do, you know. With COVID kind of wrapping up, maybe if the variant doesn't come back, are we going to see you over here in the US once the album's done?
Just pre-COVID, we did the 10 shows over here. Then the COVID hit. We had a gig at the Punk Rock Bowling, and we had a West Coast. I think was going to do the LA El Rey Ballroom, and we were going to. We had about 6 West Coast shows, and then as that was booked, we would. They were looking at doing the East Coast, New York and Boston and stuff.
That's where I am.
Then the COVID hit, and so at the moment we kind of got to wait and see how it goes, because we had a big festival booked in Scotland, and I believe I just got the word yesterday that might not be happening now because of this COVID regulations up there, Scotland, different things, which is sad. So we're hoping to get to the States as soon as we can, you know, just all these fucking rules about all this stuff, you know. We've got one festival here and we're doing a couple of little shows around that in 2 weeks, you know.
I'd love to see you, but I get that it's hard. Touring is hard. I'm just as a fan that's never got a chance to see you over in the East Coast. It would be very nice.
That's what we're hoping to do, you know. A couple of people on the social media going such, and I'm like, look, we'll be there tomorrow, but we don't know, you know.
I understand the behind the scenes of touring. You know how hard it is for you guys, especially from anywhere else outside the US.
This regulation stuff. So as soon as they get it all sorted a bit more, then hopefully we can do it, you know, because people are still not sure whether half of these festivals can go ahead. I'm surprised we're doing one in 2 weeks, and they've had the go ahead for that one. But I say this other festival was going to go on to, that's possibly going to be cancelled now because it's in Scotland, that one, and different rules, you know.
The variant, I think what's going to happen is and I have tickets for some shows too. And I'm very careful buying tickets right now because I have so many shows that are being postponed already that I think by December, maybe even before December, things are closing down again for the winter until the spring again. You know, until maybe by then enough of vaccines and we'll be really start locking down stuff. I think it's coming back. We're going to have another wave of closures.
Well, that's what they're saying. And our agent over here said, really, we're kind of looking at booking for shows for next year, you know, because, and I guess it's kind of looking that way. But in the meantime, you know, over the next few weeks, because I'll be doing this Buzzcocks album. And to be honest, I'm pretty excited about it now because it's taken a few turns and twists. be interesting to people. You know, it's got all
I'm
the classic
excited.
elements, so I'm kind of excited about it. Really, it's like, well, it's, you know, you start writing an album and then you've got to wait till it starts finding a life of its own. You know what I mean? Like,
Its own
what,
legs.
you know, what's this about? I'm doing a sketch, and then suddenly the picture starts coming at you. You know, and it's like that. And the problem I've got now, we've got too many songs for the album.
No, that's not a problem.
Maybe a couple of extra ones on the single, because I definitely want to make sure we press the vinyl and stuff. I know they'll be doing, I don't give a fuck about the streaming. I don't know how to stream anything, you know. But I know they'll be doing the streaming as well. But as long as we still got the beat, we've got.
You won't see the stream money anyhow. Someone will see it. The people that know how to stream, that will make the money, they'll figure out how to stream your music to make your money. You're not going to see that streaming.
How come they'll be doing the streaming? Because, you know, if people can't get the record right away, they tend to stream this thing and then they'll buy the record.
Right.
A lot of the old school vinyl people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to me, it still counts till we get the vinyl. And I do the CDs. I like the CDs, you know.
Yeah.
And
that's excellent.
I'm just about to buy myself a New York Ghetto Blaster again, you know.
That would be great. This has been fantastic. Thank you for being on the show. I want to have you back once your album's out, and I want to talk. We'll break down your tracks if you want.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, and by the time we've done this album and stuff, I'm thinking I'd love it out to be like, you know, by the end of the year. But I'm guessing it'll be next year when we start talking and all that, you know.